This is Natasha with Me and My Stamps. This is an impromptu live video today. I did not have this planned, but this weekend I was working on an idea that I had in my head. And I'm a case person. I case all the cards I make. I case tags. I case candy treats, just pretty much everything I do I case. I may tweak it a little bit, but it's still not mine. And I've always wanted to do something that is mine. So I sat down this weekend and I'm like, I'm going to make something of my own, and I'm not going to look on the internet. I'm not going to be inspired by anything. I just want to create something of my own. And this is what I came up with. And I'm going to show you my thought process, as well as we're going to also make another one. And then the inside, I put some holly, and about 90% of what I'm using is retired. Again, this is more about the thought process of making the card and coming up with the idea of my own. So let's get started, and I will show you how I did that. I have a pad of paper that I got when I was in Spain. It's just a sketchbook. I guess you can get one anywhere, and it's just blank paper, and I would just stamp on it. Well, first I did some drawings, but then I just started stamping on it. And these are old stamps. Not all of them are Stampin' Up, but it was funny because I have seen cards with this one and I didn't think I had it. And the other day when I was flipping through here, I was like, oh my, I do have this stamp set. So I pulled it out and I started stamping with it. I'm almost out of paper. I think I only have a couple sheets left. And this is what I started doing. I started, I picked out Early Espresso and Crumb Cake, and I just started stamping. And so I got here with the sprigs and the greenery, and it just clicked. It was like I wanted to work with something to do with this. And then I remembered that we had a sleigh. So I got the sleigh out and I stamped it 4 times. And then I got out the die, and some of you may have these sets and these stamps and want to work with these. That'd be great. Kind of old with the new, blast from the past. So I made 4 of these to go on top of here. The first one I cut out was this one, and some of the bits and pieces were missing. And when I pulled this one out, I was like, oh, I want the bits and pieces in case the stamp comes over it, it wouldn't fill into the bits and pieces. So what I did was I taped, when this was in the die, I just flipped it over and I put tape on it, and then I rubbed it in so that the tape would be on the pieces, so that when I popped it out, they all stayed in there. And I did that to 3 pieces. And I actually only ended up using 1 piece, but I didn't know that, so I made 1 for each. And then I had this little piece left over that was a little bit extra, and realized that I would have to put this underneath. So sometimes with the stamps, I wanted to make sure that I didn't go over, because I'm actually on one part, like right in here, I did go over. So depending on where you're working, you can finagle it so that you don't get anything on the outside. So that was my thought process. And then I started filling in the leaves, the different stamps I had. And then I came over here because I couldn't figure out which kind of combination I wanted. So I came over here and I just started stamping the leaves. And I really liked this stamp right here. And it's this one from Peace This Christmas. But I found that it was too dark right there with everything else that was going on. So I actually did not end up using this. I actually had 10 stamps on my desk and all out and all being used. So I finally came up with this layout minus this 1 piece. And then I still trying to figure out how to get it to work over here. But I ended up taking that out and came up with where I wanted the branches and the holly So let's get started with that, and I will show you a couple tips and tricks. First, let me show you everything I used. I used Nature Sings, and this is in our catalog right now on page 99. And it's a beautiful, beautiful set. And I have so many beautiful sets that I have never worked with that I'm going to start trying to work with them. And I really have fallen in love with this piece here, but these I can't wait to work with as well. So there's that stamps, there's that one, and then there's Wonderland, and we're using this one here. But the funny part about it is we're only using that piece. We're just going to use this front piece. And then Winter Wishes. I love this set. I wish I would have done more with this set, and we're going to be using that one. And then of course the sleigh from Santa's Sleigh. And then excuse me, this is a Project Life Hello December 2015. I used this sprig here. I had every stamp set that had some kind of sprig in it on my desk to try to figure out how to make this work. And then from Father Christmas, this one. This is such a beautiful stamp set. A gorgeous stamp set. And I really like how this turns out. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We're using 6 stamp sets to make this one card. And here's my stamp sets on blocks. And as much as I love the Stamparatus, I do love to freehand. There's just something about freehanding stamps that just excites me. So we've got those, and I do have the sleigh ride, or the sleigh on the Stamparatus, because we are going to stamp it in black, and then once we put everything on it, we're going to bring it back in and stamp it again in Versamark and then emboss it. So we have that, and then this is what I keep all my daubers in, and if you want the link for it, let me know and I will leave that afterwards. And we're going to use Mossy Meadow. And then to clean off our stamps, I am going to use the Stamp and Scrub. And for those of you who have never had one, you wet one side and clean it, and then dry it on the other side. And we have this Stampin' Mist spray, which actually smells really good, that we spray on the wet side. And I have it written on the outside, rain and sun, which would be the dry side, because that's just faster and easier for me. But on the inside, we do have, in the corners, we have a little raindrop up there for the wets, and this would be the side you spray, and then this side has the little sun that you would dry on. But for me, it's just easier to know which way to turn it when I'm using it. All right, and then you're going to need a Real Red and Mossy Meadow Stampin' Write markers. You're going to need some adhesive. I'm going to use Snail, or you can use the Tombow multi-glue. I may use that one. I haven't decided, but they're both out there. Options. It's always good to have options. I did use on the leaves, you saw some gold, and I used the Zig Memory System Wink of Stella. It's just a thin little pin, and it's really easy to make flakes with. Pair of scissors if I need it, my score if I need it. We're going to need some dimensionals. Got those, and then some tweezers if I need it, because sometimes I find that I have stuff on my my ink pads, and that it comes in handy for taking all that off. Okay. And then the inks that I'm going to use is the Memento, and yes, I put notes on everything. It doesn't stain my stamps. It's good for watercolor, so I know I can go to this. And then our Mossy Meadow ink pad. And then when we get to the card, I have a bunch of pretty paper that I have cut out. And we're going to let you pick the background of which one you think this should be. We'll try a different a couple different ones. This card took me about 3 days to put together. I know there's people out there that can design something way faster than I can. And kudos to you guys. I wish I could, but this is where I'm at. It took me a while to do this, but it was so much fun and so relaxing. And there was times I had to walk away and come back and think about what I wanted to do. Okay, so I'm going to put this down here. And here's some that I had played with. And then my husband actually liked this little piece hanging off here. And I said, yeah, but it looks like it's broke. And I don't want any broke pieces. So I didn't go with that. But you can see here, it gets too dark. But I'm going to show you some ways to make that work. And we got a couple sheets here in case we mess up. Because, like, seriously? I actually wanted to make a card out of this. How did I get ink? Ah. Oh well. It's just that, well, you know what? I think we're going to leave it because I'm actually after a rustic look, kind of like an old antique-y look. And I don't know, a card back in the old days. Do any of you know what I'm talking about? Because cards just have seemed to change over the years. Paper. So the thing that and I'm going to show you. The thing I noticed on this first one, you see this big old gap? I don't like that gap. So I had to figure out how to close it in, and this is how you do that. Okay, here's my stamps. Let's open this up. All right, let's see. I want this one first. So what you're going to want to do is bring it down. And don't worry about if the some of the leaves get over, because when foliage is in a sleigh, some of them come over, but I just didn't want them all the way over. So I just bring it down. And I inked this up last night because, oh dear. Let's see. Or some of it's darker. When we do that, all you need to do is take a spoon and just kind of move the ink around a little bit. So that it's a little more even on your stamp. That's a little more even. Then I just take a tissue and wash the back of it off. You're getting more than you bargained for today, huh? All right, let's try this again. And then you just figure out how much you want hanging out. me do one more. And then one more like that. And then you see you've got it right up. It's not gonna. See, that gap is gone. And you got a few over, but that's okay. All right, and then the next one I want, here's our card. So I have those out. And now I want to do these. And that one is this one. And it's going to come up almost all the way. Such a pretty stamp. It's so pretty. This was a lot of fun to come up with. All right, and then the next one is this one again, the clear one. And this is where you're going to want to put this piece of paper underneath. Because sometimes you have to angle the stamp and you don't want it coming, the end of it coming out of the back of the sleigh. Okay, and now I think I'm just going to leave that there. The next one we want to use is it this one? I think it's this one. Yep. And this one I almost don't. I almost make it the full height. Like, see, my paper's not even touching it. And that's fine, because we've got other stuff going in there. And then I want this one. This is a gorgeous, gorgeous stamp. Oh, it's beautiful. Make sure I have it the right way. And this is where I do use this one. I think since I inked up, my inks are a little stronger than last night's. Okay, and then this one, remember I said we were only going to use part of the stamp? And we're just doing the little leaves to give some fill in here. when you're going to fill in these gaps here, we don't have as big as gaps as I showed you in my rough draft, but you can just take your pen and follow the leaves, and you know, you can even fake some leaves in there if you want. Just to make it so it's there's no gaps. You can try to you know, fill in the leaves that would kind of be there. That's not too bad. I like that. So we're going to go with that. Okay, now you're going to bring in your real red and you're going to color in the sleigh. And I color in the sleigh before I heat emboss the black, because I have noticed that when I heat emboss and I try to go in and color, sometimes there's these little white specks and it doesn't cover it. You can't color it because the clear's there. So if you go in and color it first, you're not going to have that problem. And if you color over the lines, which I really try not to, you could go in and do it with black again, but I really don't want any more black on here than I have. So I try not to color over the black lines. And like I said, it took me a couple days to come up with this. But I think it's part of the fun is the process of doing this. And then you're really happy with it and excited with it because it's yours. It came out the way you want it. You don't have to give credit to anybody. You just, I mean, you know, Stampin' Up! Products, but I've always wanted to just create my own stuff, and it's just something I really struggle with. And I have no idea where I'll go after this. I just know I wanted an antique-y, old looking kind of picture. So this is what I came up with. Okay, so that part's done. Oh, and then I also did the berries, and I did put clear over them so they're shiny. Just a little something extra to make the card pop. All right, and I'll show you how I heat emboss those as well. So right now we're going to bring the Stamparatus back in. And the other thing that I didn't mention that you're going to need is your Versamark. And my embossing stuff is over here, so I'm just going to leave it there. Yep. And I'm going to heat this up just a little bit before we start because it's going to get a little loud. Look at that. It's so beautiful. Okay, now to get the berries, I have a Emboss It pen. There's several out there. This one is by Ranger, and it's clear. And I will just go in and go over the berries. Okay, so now I want an edge on it. So what I did was I took Mossy Meadow, and I tried all the greens, and Mossy Meadow was the one that I liked for being a little more antique-y looking or old looking. Now, I know a lot, most of the time, and this is another tip, most of the time I sponge on my first finger, but I can get really kind of rough-handed on my first finger. So I actually had switched it to my middle finger, and I hold it like this, and it's not quite so hard. I don't get such a rough look like I do with my first one. Like with my first one, I just, this is how I hold it, and I can't seem to hold it like this to control it. So I always have more, a deeper look, and I didn't want a deeper look on this one. So I went to my middle finger, and this way I can hold it with these two fingers and rest this on the sheet, and I can gauge it how I want, so I can get it pretty light. Of course, watch me go really dark here. And of course, I always tap it off. But when I'm coming in, I'm almost on the air, and then I come down on the paper. And sorry, I have to think. I can't talk and concentrate on this. And I should probably done this before I heat embossed it. And see, it just gives a little tiny. Is that focusing, or is it just my eyes? See, just a little tiny color. And you can go in as far as you want. I just wanted it on the ever so slightly on the edges. And I've got my pinky down on here. So my pinky is actually on the side of my pinky is where everything glides and slides, and then I can control this. For some reason, this just works better for me than using my first finger. It's really kind of hard to see, but in person you can see it. It's almost like a halo effect around the sleigh, and I like that. I may have to do another one later and go in further to see if I can get a bigger halo effect. But for right now, we're just going to do this one because I don't want to mess this up. So now we are going to use, oh, you know what? I was going to tell you, you could go back in, and I did with the other one, and now you can color in to make it darker, or you can leave it lighter. But now it just colors beautifully, and you don't have to worry about not getting any parts. And see, that just makes it a little bit darker, kind of like this one. And when that dries, it'll even look better. With the cherry cobbler in the black. So let me put these away so they don't get scratched. And we're going to bring out our scoreboard. And I know I would need this. score tool. So 4 1/4. Glitter everywhere. 4 1/4. And I have to do this slow to make sure that my eyes are seeing the right thing. Okay, for this one, I'm going to use dimensionals to pop it up. And most of you know I'm a dimensional fool, so I put them everywhere. Because there's nothing worse than a card getting somewhere that you worked hard on and it's smashed in the middle, or you take your bone folder and the card is smashed. So my upline Sherry has noticed that if she uses this on some papers, when she gets to going fast, because she does multiples, sometimes this ink will come off. So if you're working with white, you always want to make sure you're on this end or on the back side of this, but try not to use this end because you don't want that on your paper. All right, I'm going to put should I use glue? I've never used snail adhesive on the back of foil. I'm going to use snail because it's stronger and I don't want it to come up. Got some glue on there. Absolutely beautiful. Okay, take these off. And the nice thing about these, when you're using this many, is this is kind of a matte. There's a little bit of shine, but it's more matte. And these are really shiny. So if you ever wondered if you missed one, just take it and kind of look at all of them. And if it's really, really shiny, you know you got all of them. If it's matte, then you know you've got one on there. And then you just, hopefully my head's not quite enough in it, but hopefully that'll work. There you go. Isn't that beautiful? All right, for the inside, we're just going to grab another one. The inside's really easy. And I like this stamp set for the inside. And you can put it in either corner. I actually had, I don't know what I did with my ones. I had some down here in the bottom left and the top right, and I didn't like it. But I guess for writing purposes, it would be nicer. So I actually went with it the opposite way. So this time we'll do these two corners. So we're going to do down here. Oh. And leave it there just for a second for the paper to grab onto the ink. Oh, God, this is such a pretty stamp. And then, I don't know if this is going to be perfect, but I like that. And then I'm going to clean my stamp first, and then take my pin. And on this one, you can really see where the berries are. And there's a load of them, which I'm okay with. Just color those in. And you don't have to heat emboss this one if you don't. I do, because it just follows suit for the front. All right, and then you just take your pin, your embossing pin, and go over the berries. And there you go. Just super simple. Super, super simple. And then oh, so pretty. Look at that. Isn't that beautiful? I love that black. I love that black. And then there's the gold one and the red one. And that's how I came up with my idea, my process of thinking, and what I did to come up with my own design. And I am looking, I know I'm still going to case, because there's just so much out there that people are doing that are absolutely beautiful. And but I do want to do some of my own stuff, my own designs. If you don't already have a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator or are interested in Stampin' Up! Products, I would be happy to send you either the annual or the holiday catalog. If you still don't have one, I have a couple left I can send out. They're both complimentary. Just leave me a comment below. Thanks so much for joining me, everyone. I look forward to seeing you next time.